Assisted living is the most favored and fastest growing long-term care option for seniors in the United States. And we talk about senior living every Saturday morning on The Aging Adventure, brought to you by Legacy Retirement Communities. Good morning. I'm Dale Johnson, sharing the morning with John Kopetsky and Kathy Blythe. John is Executive Director of Legacy Terrace at 5700 Fremont Street, and Kathy brings her love for and longtime relationship with the Legacy to the conversation. Good morning, John. Good morning, Kathy.
Hi, Dale.
Good morning, Dale.
Many seniors come to the Legacy from a home they've lived in for many years. They raise their family in that house, and moving into a simpler lifestyle is something they've never experienced. Rich Rodenburg of Coldwell Banker NHS Real Estate helped his mother sell her home to make the move into the Legacy. He's coming up on The Aging Adventure after Jay Bohlken, Executive Director at Legacy Estates and Chief Operating Officer of Legacy Retirement Communities, to take us into the history of assisted living.
Jay, thanks for joining us this morning. I guess to understand the history of assisted living, we really have to go back to the 1960s.
The idea of our modern nursing facilities probably dates back to the 1965 passage of the Medicare and Medicaid legislation. And prior to that, the Social Security Act in the 1930s, there were homes for the aged, county homes, homes operated by religious organizations that were around. But really that 1965 Medicare and Medicaid legislation gave birth to what we consider the modern nursing facility. And that legislation led to a boom of what we now would call more institutional type nursing homes. In Lincoln, the history after the nursing home type thing, Gateway Manor probably lays claim to Lincoln's first retirement community, and it opened in actually late 1963. And there are also entities called Continuing Care Retirement Communities, or CCRCs. Of course, we have to have the initials, like a lot of industries. But those also began operating around that time. And the concept in those communities are they can care for individuals from a low level of need all the way up to skilled nursing home level of care. An example of that in Lincoln would be Eastmont Towers. It opened in, I think, 1968. So that's kind of prior to the assisted living. That's a little bit of the history.
So from there, I mean, assisted living is an outgrowth then of the skilled care, the nursing homes.
Yes, I think that's correct. Assisted livings first began appearing probably in the late 1980s. The term itself, assisted living, my research indicates it probably first was used in Oregon in about 1985. The Oregon and the Pacific Northwest were kind of the first ones that started what's called assisted living trend. They also may have been called residential care homes or possibly board and care homes. But in Nebraska, assisted living was created by statute in our state in 1998.
And you were part of that, Jay.
I was. Prior to the statute, work groups were established to help develop the language for the bill and the subsequent regulations pertaining to assisted living communities. I was working for a trade association at the time, and I was on one of those work groups. And so I know some of the agonizing detail that was involved in that bill. And at least initially, the language was somewhat generic, or quite generic, intentionally. The idea was they didn't want to end up with as many cumbersome regulations that nursing homes were faced with or burdened with. And the idea was this would lead to lower cost care from a nursing home. And in general, I think that's proven to be the case. In general, assisted living is a lower cost alternative to a nursing home or skilled nursing care.
Jay, there does seem to be a lot of confusion about the term assisted living, and you just helped with that a whole lot. But there are still a lot of myths that are floating around out there about assisted living. Can you give us the short form on that?
Yes, I think I can give you a few of them. In the industry, we have kind of an inside joke that says if you've seen one assisted living facility, you've seen one assisted living facility. And in other words, it's not one size fits all. They can be quite different. Each one will need to spell out what services they're going to provide to you or to your loved one with respect to their activities of daily living or their ADLs. Again, there's some more initials for us. But some assisted living will take folks at a much higher level than others. So it just depends on the individual community. Some of the other myths are that, well, an assisted living must have a nurse on duty all the time. And that's not true. Many assisted livings don't staff with nurses around the clock. Although, a little plug, the legacies do. We do staff with nurses around the clock in our communities. The medications will be administered by a nurse. This may be another myth that people might have. Again, this may or may not be true. A lot of assisted living facilities use a staff member that is probably called a medication aide or an MA to pass meds. And finally, probably one of the bigger myths that people might believe is that I can stay in an assisted living facility as long as I like or until I die. That may or may not be true. In general, a resident in an assisted living facility must be stable or predictable with their healthcare situation and not require what we call complex nursing interventions. So there may be a point at which you or your loved one can't stay in an assisted living facility.
Great information, Jay. Thank you. That helps us sift through it and encourages people to do their homework. And we'll have you back again. Thanks for being with us today on the Aging Adventure.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Thank you, Jay. From the past to the future, selling your house to move into a retirement community. Learn what's involved in the selling side of that move when the Aging Adventure continues. We're back on the Aging Adventure. I'm Dale Johnson with John and Kathy. This morning, we offer you tips from Rich Rodenburg of Coldwell Banker NHS Real Estate when considering a move from a private home to a retirement community.
Good morning to you, Rich. Good to have you with us.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Dale. It's a pleasure to be amongst this power group here. It's so much fun. As many of you know, I have a radio show also on KFOR. It's at 9:30 on Saturday, and we talk all about how to buy or sell homes. I have found myself somewhat specializing in helping people of our parents' age make that tough decision to move out of their home of 60 years, raised the kids, accumulated all sorts of stuff. And I bet I have helped 30 or 40, maybe even 50 people over the years make that decision to sell their home and move into one of the legacies or one of the other fine facilities around town. My own mother, it was a piece of cake. Ruth Rodenburg, when she turned 80, she announced to us that she had made her decision. She was going to eventually move into the legacy at 56th and Pioneers. She put down a $500 deposit, was very happy with her decision. We said, but Mom, are you sure you're ready? She said, oh, no, I'm not ready yet. I am going to, if something happens and I have to go into assisted living, I'll be happy. But if I'm still healthy and able to take care of myself, when I turn 90, I'm gone. I'm going to go into the legacy. And by golly, she held true to that. When she turned 90, she was just as happy as could be to let myself and my siblings, we all came, helped her pare things down, decide what to move, helped her pack. She found her room all by herself. She was very specific as to what she wanted. She wanted a second floor with a southern exposure and a balcony. And by golly, she got exactly what she wanted. And I was so happy. We were all sitting there kind of on pins and needles after she'd spent a couple of nights at the legacy. she was talking on the phone to her old neighbor of 60 years, and she said, "Delma, I am in heaven. I don't know why I didn't do this earlier." And so we all breathed a collective sigh of relief. And she now, going into her third year at the Legacy, is as happy as could be. Even through the pandemic, she had things to do. She walked the halls. Her food was great. She is still just as happy as day one. So I am happy to help other people to make that decision when it's time to sell your house. I would love to come over, tell you what we think your house is worth. Maybe there's a few things that we can do to make your house show a little better. We will coordinate with the Legacy time-wise, moving-wise. If you don't have kids or a family to help, there are services that we can help get you lined up with. And the Legacy is so much help in that respect as well. So we kind of form a triangle with the person that's moving on to the Legacy and to sell their house, and then of course the folks at the Legacy. So we make it as easy and seamless as we can. And now is a great time if you are thinking about selling anytime in the future. Let's start having that conversation, because houses are selling at an all-time high, and you might be surprised what your house is worth.
Rich, with it being a seller's market right now, does a person who is selling need to make that many updates in order to make that sale happen or get the top dollar?
Probably not. When we go in, we will have some ideas. It may be as simple as let's get a rag and clean off your threshold so people's first impressions are good. We may say, let's start packing up some of your figurines and put them in boxes and sort of declutter the house a little bit. We may move a chair here or there. We may even just go as far as say, hey, let's paint this wall. But no, we're never going to suggest any high dollar repairs just to get your house sold, at least not in this market.
Rich, when folks are moving in or making that decision, typically what's the time frame? I know we've all heard how hot the market is right now. Is it, I plan on moving in 6 months, so that's when I call the realtor, or what would a time frame?
Well, yeah, I would. It's not going to take that long once we pull the trigger or set the system into motion. Right now, and who knows how long this will last, homes are selling in 2 or 3 days. Then after we get the buyer, it's typically another month to 6 weeks before the bank will have everything together and the appraisals and if there's inspections. So I would say 6 weeks is a more realistic time, but we are certainly happy to start talking 6 months or a year before.
Rich, so much information to cover. We've run out of time for this segment, but we'll be back with more from Rich Rodenburg right after this on The Aging Adventure.
Good morning. I'm Dale Johnson with John and Kathy on The Aging Adventure. This morning, Rich Rodenburg of Coldwell Banker NHS Real Estate is sharing his knowledge about selling a home in order to move into a retirement community.
Rich, we hear a lot about staging your home to sell it, and you talked a little bit about putting some of the collectibles and things that were taking up space into boxes and maybe getting those out of view. I've also heard that we shouldn't have a lot of family photos around or a bunch of trophies or awards, things that make it your personal home that somebody can't picture themselves in it. Is that true?
There is a lot of truth to that, Kathy. I find myself, and I see my buyers, when we go into a house and there's a picture of the family reunion from 5 years ago, people go right up to that photo and start looking to see, oh, do I know that person? Or that's a cute family. And they don't look at the house. They're seeing someone else's house. So we do try to, well, the the name of our show is Start Moving. So we tell people, just get some bins, start putting those family photos and those collectibles. And we want to get as much clear counter space as we can that makes the house look bigger. These are all simple things that we will help with.
Rich, you talked earlier about how your mom's experience in moving to the Legacy, and I've been through that too. When my own mother left the house and moved into my community here, so it can be a really daunting process as a son and as a realtor who's a professional in this area. What was that like? I mean, did you grieve when the house was sold because you'd lost your childhood home? I know I did when we sold Mom's house.
With us, it was my kids. So the grandchildren had more sentimental attachment to the house than us, we siblings, and my mom collectively. In fact, my son Jack and Max were very happy to, and still are, to have the old family piano and the old orange furniture and certain things. So that made them feel better that they could take a little piece of Glenhaven Drive to them. And I have to give credit to my sister-in-law, Denise, Steve Rodenburg's wife, that we took pictures of her living room, where the photos and the candles and how it was all set up. And then we reduplicated that in her new place, and she felt like she was just walking into her old living room because every photo, the furniture, everything was set up just as she had been comfortable with for 60 years. That was a brilliant move. And I can't take credit for it, but it worked out. And she just loves how her place feels because of that.
That is a terrific idea. Replicating it as much as you can. That's terrific. And I hear through the grapevine that your mother is one of the biggest cheerleaders for the Legacy out there. And that's wonderful to know that your parent is where they want to be and what feels right for them. There's nothing like that.
Well, I told Kayla as she was moving in, I said, you're going to realize that you should be paying her to move in as social director, because she's got the Scrabble going and she's got the walks, and she loves every aspect of the social, the tight-knit community that she has at the Legacy.
Rich, I know your mom was somewhat unusual in that she planned so far ahead to make the move to the Legacy, saying that she's going to do this when she turns such and such an age. And that doesn't always happen. I know you've probably worked with folks for whom the move is a little less proactively planned, and it can sometimes be kind of a crushed or a rushed time frame. Do you have any tips for maybe the children of those folks who might be listening? How can you help them through that in a very compressed time frame?
Well, the Legacy does a great job. They're bringing my mom flowers. They're bringing my mother-in-law meals just to sort of keep comfortable and keep the conversation going. So when that time does come, they're happy. And once in a while, it comes down to someone's just still not quite resolved that they're going to do it, but they do it anyway. And almost to a T, I'll come back a week or two later with another signature that I need. And they go from 3 days in, I hate it, 2 weeks in, I'm getting used to it, 4 weeks in, why didn't I do this years ago? I love it here. It might take a week or two to fully adapt and to make new friends, but I just don't know anybody that I've helped move into one of the legacies that regrets it down the road. It's a wonderful thing.
It's a common lament. I wish I would have done it sooner.
Yep.
Rich Rodenburg, Lincoln Realtor, we're so happy that you are with us today, and also delighted that your mother is a happy camper. One can never go wrong with having a mother who's a happy camper.
Amen to that.
Thanks a lot, Rich. Every Saturday morning, we explore retirement living at Legacy Communities of Lincoln. John, how can someone reach you at Legacy Terrace?
You can call the Legacy Communities at 402-436-3000 or our website, legacyretirement.com.
And Kathy, we'll talk again next week. I'm Dale Johnson on The Aging Adventure.